Yes, Mr. Dorff. Suck it. Sorry.
No apologies necessary.
Stephen Dorff on the line. Hate that guy.
I am Ian Simmons from Kicking the Seat. We're here with a very important man. It's Mr. Cory Udler, the writer-director of Incest Death Squad, Parts 1 and 2, and the co-writer and director of Mediatrix.
Yes, indeed. Which are taking off. I'm making giant business with these movies. I'm hoping to retire in the Poconos soon.
Is that true?
Money. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm broke. I'm broke. So buy my movies, please. All of you people should buy the movies, too. Cryptosis.
What do you mean, you people?
These young people
the
watching this.
audience
yes,
off
we have
screen.
a studio audience. The live studio audience. Hey! It's amazing, isn't it? It's like The Tonight Show.
Doesn't get better than live, folks.
No. Down there.
You seem to have started pretty late in the game in terms of filmmaking.
I'm old,
Incest,
yes.
Well, not that you're old, it's just that Incest Death Squad 1 came out in 2009, correct?
Yes.
What sparked your interest in filmmaking, and how did you get into it?
I mean, I always liked movies, but when you're growing up as a kid, you liked basically all the same movies. Everybody from my era, it was Indiana Jones and it was Goonies and things. But what really sparked me was I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and I discovered a show called The Incredibly Strange Film Show. It was hosted by Jonathan Ross. He was a British reporter of some sort, like an entertainment guy. And it was on cable, but it was an hour-long, documentary. This guy's yawning. It was an hour-long documentary on different cult filmmakers: Herschel Gordon Lewis, John Waters, George Romero, Sam Raimi, Ted V. Michaels, Ray Dennis Steckler, all these guys. So that actually turned me on to the fact that not only were the movies bizarre and strange, but that the guys behind these movies were even weirder and more colorful and stranger, and that was the most fun. So probably 12 or 13, I'm like, all I want to do in life is just make a really weird movie. I didn't want to make a good movie, obviously, but I wanted to make weird, just something weird that people just watched and went, yeah, you bastard, what are you doing to me? How dare you make such a movie? And that was basically it. But it was kind of that. It was like Ted V. Michaels and Herschel Gordon Lewis, and once I discovered that, it was like a mission to see all of those movies and experience them and just kind of learn from those guys. Because I knew, I don't know, it was like an epiphany when I was younger that I just knew there was no way I was going to wind up with millions of dollars to make these movies. And so I knew I had to try something different, and that was all it was. Make a weird movie on no money. So that's what my heroes did. Like Ivan Cryptosis and Ted V. Michaels and Herschel Gordon Lewis. And make it on lunch money, but make a weird movie that nobody's ever seen before. So that was it.
Well, that's your childhood sort of aspiration, and then you make a movie when you're in your 30s, I guess. Mm-hmm. Were you preparing? Were you researching? What's with the gestation period being?
I had gone back to I was 27, 28. I went back to school, and for editing and shooting and camera work and things. And so once I did that, I kind of discovered that I really enjoyed, and I kind of got behind shooting and editing and things. So that was kind of it. And during that time, whoa, we lost a light. But during that time, I discovered that I liked kind of writing movies too. That was kind of a fun thing. So our final project was writing. It was a piece of shit. This movie was terrible that we made. Our final project, it was a movie called Segway, and the bastards made me act in it. These swine, they wanted me to act in it. And I said, I'm no actor, you bastards. But they made me act in it. It's a worst fucking movie ever made. Honest to God. I mean, if you think you've seen the worst movie, forget it. I should put this goddamn thing on YouTube.
You should. I want to see it.
It sucks. It sucks so bad. But, you kind of get bit by it, and you're like, this was fun to make a movie, and, people get behind it, and they're like, hey, you made a movie, even though it was shit. But it was fun, so I, wrote the movie, and then we shot it, and, 4 people saw it, and so that was kind of fun. But that was, during that time, I'm like, I kind of like this, writing movies and shooting movies, editing movies and stuff. So that was kind of it. But it was, like I said, it started early, getting into weird movies and things, and then actually kind of getting some skills to do it. So, unfortunately, I keep making shit. It's a shame. It's too bad.
Why Incest Death Squad?
Good question. Why not? Why not Incest Death Squad? It has incest in the title. Well, the Incest Death Squad started as a script I wrote. It's got to be like 7, 8, 9 years old now. It started out as a script called Moonshine, which is a terrible title. There's nothing exploitative about something called Moonshine. It means nothing. But I wrote it and I liked it, and I sat on it for a while. And Lloyd Kaufman from Troma had this thing on his website that said, looking for the next Troma film script, blah, 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 which I think he just like leaves up there all the time. He has no intention of making any of these movies, bless his heart. But so I'm like, oh, fuck. I go, I've got a script. This is going to be great. He's going to love this. So I sent him Moonshine. And surprisingly enough, he called me on the phone and left me a message. He's like, hey, it's Lloyd Kaufman from Troma. I love this script. We don't have $1 million to make whatever movie we want, blah, blah, blah. Keep at it. You know, you're on the right track. So I met him like 6, 8 months later. And I said, Lloyd, I just wanted to thank you for calling me. And he goes, what the hell am I calling you for? Why would I call you? And I said, yeah. I said, oh, Incest Death Squad. It was the movie, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, yes, with the thing. And he actually remembered the script, which Lloyd's got like a brain like a steel trap. He remembers everybody. And he goes, just make your own damn movie. He goes, don't wait for somebody to make it. He goes, if you make it, I'll come and be in it. So that was the genesis for that. So I'm like, okay, if Lloyd's going to be in it, I got to make this movie. But Incest Death Squad, ironically enough, was called Moonshine. And when I was going to send it to Lloyd, I said, if I send Lloyd a movie called Moonshine, he's not even going to open this thing up. He's not going to look at it. Who gives a shit? So I called Bill Rebane, who, for the astute watching out there in YouTube land or wherever we are, Bill Rebane is the director of Giant Spider Invasion, Rana, Legend of Shadow Lake, Capture of Bigfoot, and all these crazy-ass like 70s drive-in movies. And I've known Bill for many, many years, and Bill's great and crazy. But he knew Lloyd for a long time, so I called him and I said, hey, I'm sending this script to Lloyd. I said, but I need a different title. And he goes, well, what is this picture called? What is this picture about? What is this script? And I said, well, it's an incestuous brother. Call it the Incest Death Squad. And I said, oh, perfect. Thank you, Bill. And to this day, he goes, where did you come up with such a shit title? Why would you put that on a movie? How dare you? And I said, Bill, you came up with it. I didn't come up with anything like that. How dare you? Name a movie Incest. But Bill Rebane came up with that title, so he can argue with me all day, but that was it. So that was the genesis of Incest Death Squad. And obviously, you know, even though I had gone for editing and, you know, and camera and, all of these things, production, I had no idea what I was doing on that movie. And it shows that I had no clue what was going on in the world of filmmaking on Incest Death Squad 1. Ask this guy. Ask Dr. Ivan Cryptosis. He knows. He's seen it.
I've seen it too.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, no, it is, well, you can definitely tell between the first and the second movie that there was a huge leap in terms of like the ambition of the story and
I think
and the characters seem to take on a completely, it's natural evolution, but it was something that you would never associate with those characters watching the first film.
No, and I think, you know, and I don't think you have any, and I think the filmmakers, you know, that are hanging out, Derek and Dustin and things, I think they would say the same thing. It's, you can't help but, you know, grow and learn from the movies, especially, you know, with Incest Death Squad, because a lot of people would say, you know, why would you even, like, make that available? Like, why would you put that out? You know, it was your first movie, it was disjointed, it's crazy, it's weird, it's great. But then you go, well, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? I'm going to make it, I want to put it out, and the best thing to do is just hang your balls out there for everybody to see and scrutinize and kick you, and then you learn from it, and you move on to the next movie, and you go, okay, well, that makes sense, and, you know. But, so it was basic, what? You didn't like the balls comment? But you have to kind of, you know, take your lumps and just put it out there, because I know Ted B. Michaels actually, like his first, I think like 5 or 6 movies that he made, he never made available. Like they'll never see the light of day. He goes, I was learning my craft. And I don't know how he ever did that, but I was like, well, you know, I'm going to make it, put it out there for people to see. And I learned a lot, needless to say, from just my own, and then as a director, when you watch the movie, there's just shit that drives you crazy. And even still now, with, you know, making the movies and things, there's just stuff you watch and you're like, God, the fuck am I doing? This is the worst. I'm an idiot, you know, for this. Another $1,000 in another day, as I said, would make these movies so much better. They'd be like Ben-Hur. If I had another $1,000 another day.
That's a subtitle for Incest Death Squad 3.
My book.
Yes.
I'll write the book that nobody will read. Download it on your Kindle. Cryptosis.
One thing I'd like to ask about in terms of both the Incest Death Squad movies is the casting. Did you know these people, or did you actually put out a casting call? I mean, Tom Lodwick alone seems like a hell of a find.
No, I knew nobody. I had no point of reference on anything. And we put out a casting call, and like Tom and Melissa came in and auditioned, and both of them I was like, oh, they're way too classy. What the hell they want to be hanging out with me for, making this nonsense? But they were super into it, and they both wanted to do it. And Tom has been very gracious and very, very nice to do all the movies and be very kind and help out. And Greg Johnson, actually, we had actually started shooting the first movie, and I didn't have Jeb yet. So we were already well into shooting, and I didn't have Jeb. I was just, for some reason, I'm like, I gotta find, and I just knew for like somewhere I would find Jeb. Like I'd be walking down the street and go, hey, you want to make a movie? But Tom actually sent me a picture of Greg, and I think my exact wording that I emailed back to him, I said, if he can speak English, I said, I want him in the movie. And not only could he speak English, but he's a beautiful man and a fantastic actor and very, very kind and fearless. And so I've been very lucky to have him. So it seems weird and probably goofy to say, but it was kind of like lightning in a bottle. Like
we were talking earlier today about the fact that you started working on the sequel to Incest Death Squad pretty much right after the first one was wrapped. I mean, did you know?
Yeah, it hadn't premiered yet, actually.
Did you know in the middle of production that you wanted to do a sequel, or was
No.
it just like, I'm done with the movie, I got to do something else?
I didn't want to make another goddamn movie. It was the worst experience I've ever had in my life, was making that movie. I'm like, I'm done. This is a waste. What am I doing? I'm wasting my life. I'm wasting people's time. And he agrees that I'm still doing that. But I didn't want to do it, and then everybody's like, when are we going to do a sequel? This would be fun. So once we got done, it just kind of seemed natural to kind of like turn everybody completely 360 and just, make everybody a lot more fucked up and a lot more crazy, and then to just make a completely different movie, because I didn't want everybody to like come back and make another no-budget wonder if they didn't have something fun to do with the movie. So everybody, like the first one is what it is, but the second one, everybody kind of gets to play a little more and have a little more fun. So I guess in my head I was probably writing it, because actually when I sat, and it shows in the movie, I sat down and wrote it about 9 hours when I actually had it done, because I was thinking about it like the whole time that we were shooting. I'm like, oh yeah, we could do this, and we could wind up here and wind up here. So I was thinking about it the whole time, even though I was telling the cast, we're not doing another movie. Incest, stupid movie. We're not doing this.
You've mentioned that that a part 3 is on the way.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we have the just released Mediatrix, which is
Yes.
a complete sidestepping of that genre. What inspired you to do that, to kind of pull back?
I don't know. I think, and I think the Swamphead guys know this too, and Derek, who's worked on a lot of movies, when nobody is giving you money to make movies and you can't raise money, I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, who am I going to go to and say, hey, I'm making a movie about a woman who sees the Virgin Mary, and there's a lot of drug abuse and this and that, and a lot of violence and manipulation, and we're basically an indictment on the Catholic Church. Give me some money to make this movie. You'll like this, won't you, Mr. Dentist? So when you're making movies with no money, and you don't have delusions of once it's done to go, oh, I'm going to make big bucks, and this is going to take off, and this is my ticket to Hollywood, man. I'm Paranormal 4. Here I come. This is my meal ticket. So when you don't go into it with like these weird delusions, it's just like, I'm just going to make what is interesting to me at the time. Like whatever seems weird and fucked up and strange is what I want to do. And Paula Dirksen, who was in Incest Death Squad 2, she played the hooker who gets her throat cut in the bathroom by Greg. She's brilliant, fantastic. When she came up, she's from Oklahoma City, and she came up to Wisconsin, and when she did, I said, I'm going to take you on the best hotspot tour of the state that I possibly can do. I'm going to take you to the greatest places we have. So I took her to Plainfield to see like all the Ed Gein shit, and took her to his grave and all this. But then there's a place like 25 miles from there that's called the Mediatrix of Peace Shrine. And it was this woman back in the 40s who was seeing visions of the Virgin Mary, quote unquote, supposedly. And she continued it till like the 70s. And the Catholic Church is like, no, stop. You're full of shit. Take all this religious stuff off your property. You're a charlatan and whatever else. So we went up there, and Paula was wearing not enough clothing, so she had to put a shawl on Because when you go to the shrine, if you're not dressed modestly enough, you have to go in this closet that they have set up before you even enter the gates that says, this is appropriate and this is not.
Wow.
And there's a little thing there, and you have to, like, grab a shawl and, like, wrap it around yourself or whatever. And on the way back, we're just like, what? This would be so great to, like, exploit and make a really weird movie out of. And so basically on the way back, we kind of put the pieces of the story in place. And then we went back and started writing it. So we started writing it in May, and the following March, the script was done. We shot it in that May in 4 days. And that was, that was kind of it. But it's, like I said, when you don't have money and you're not going for distribution and you don't have delusions of grandeur with what you're doing, it's like, I'm just going to do whatever is interesting to me. And it's not a horror movie, and I don't even know really what it is, but I was like, no, I think it's amusing, at least. It may not be perfect, and it may not be, commercially viable in any way, shape, or form, but I don't know. I got a kick out of it for the 4 days we shot it.
Was it as much of a logistical nightmare as it sounds like it is to pull in people from different parts of the country to come in for essentially an extended weekend and shoot? How long were you shooting on those days?
4 days. We shot 17 hours a day for 4 days. Once it was done and everybody kind of went back to their corners of the country, I still had a few little things, some insert shots and a few things to get. But it was a complete fucking nightmare because Shannon Lark came from Los Angeles, Matt Ukina came from Los Angeles, Joe Hollow came from New York, Paula came from Oklahoma City, Kaylee came from Chicago, and then there were a bunch of people like around the Madison area, and we had to coordinate with everybody's schedule over 4 days. And we had an 80-page script that we had to shoot in 4 days. Luckily enough, it was, 'cause at this level you kind of got to keep things like a small, like 1 or 2 locations. I mean, even Charles Band, who's still making movies constantly. You watch his movies, and of course they're, super entertaining. They're a lot of fun, but they're like one location. Mm-hmm. And that's all it is because there's no money. You have to like shoot it in 5 days, a feature film. So, logistically it was insane. And even at the end of our days, like 17-hour days, Paula and I would then sit down. Our days became 20-hour days. And we would sit down and go through the script and go, what the fuck have we shot? And go, okay, we shot this, what can go? And so we'd sit and go, this page can go, because this is just character development. As much as you'd like the movie to be 3 hours, because it's all so brilliant, I want to shoot every page of this. You'd just cut pages and get rid of it and go, what ties to this scene and what ties to this scene? And even when I was editing, I had scenes cut together, but they weren't fitting in the order that we shot them, so I had to move them around and try to transition them. And yeah, it was a pain. But it was better than shooting it over 3 months, because the other movies I shot like over the course of 3 months. So you almost feel like, and you're like, man, am I making the most disjointed, weird movie of all time, or is this going to fit together? So, but shooting over the 4 days was manic, it was crazy, but I would much rather do it over 4 days than stretch it over a long period of time.
Do you think the next movie is going to follow sort of the same pattern?
Oh God, no. No, that one will probably get shot over like 6 months. Or something like that, little piece. With because it's Incest 3, and I'm not calling it Incest Death Squad because I'm sick of having to explain incest to people. You're the incest guy. Thanks, that's great. I had a guy come up to me today at the booth, and just being a smartass, and I'm like, "You look like a man who enjoys incest," and he goes, "No, this is really gross. You should be ashamed of yourself."
You were there. I was there.
You were standing there.
And then he was complaining about zombie bukkake.
Bukkake, yeah, he was pissed about the bukkake.
Zombie buka is what he called it.
Zambibuka.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that, a shot? I said Zambuka, zombie buka. Yeah, just right down the gullet with the zombie buka. I'm like, bukkake? Oh, no. Do you know what that is, young man? But yeah, he was super, offended by it. So actually, the next one's just called IDS, and then right now it's IDS Rising, but I'll probably come up with something a little smarter, if that's possible.
So beyond IDS Rising,
yeah,
what kind of are you just going to continue to make the kinds of movies that interest you at the time, or do you have like a career vision?
No, not at all. And I don't know. At this level, it's kind of like taking a look at it and saying, what if you want to make it in Hollywood? I should have probably moved there like 15 years ago. and I should have started sucking my way up the food chain in Hollywood to get where I want to be. If I want to make money and I want to be Mr., I want to work in the game, you got to like PA and you got to really, work your way through the system. And I got in, like you said, like late in the game, and I'm just happy that I get to do it and that like a few people give a shit that I'm doing it. Like this is insane. You want to sit here middle of the night and yak with me? It's crazy. I don't have like a definite path, and I'm not one of those guys with like 15 projects in various stages of never getting completed on IMDb, because I just can't. I can't do it. It's too many balls in the air that I can't juggle. I can't keep track of stuff, and so one at a time, and that's it. And we'll see. I mean, like I said, when I finished Incest 1, I'm like, I'm not doing Incest 2. I don't want to do this. This is not where I want to go. This is not what I want to do. And then now to look at Incest 3, and in all honesty, that's not what I want to really do, is Incest 3, but it's I think I said earlier, it's the lowest hanging fruit. So it's the easiest movie, and it seems like that's kind of what people like Cryptosis want to see. So that's why I'm making it. I'm making it for Dr. Ivan Cryptosis.
Well, what do you think about mainstream Hollywood pictures, and for that matter, what do you think of the independent horror scene?
Ooh. Hollywood, I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that's going to say that, like, oh, Hollywood movies, barf, I don't like any of them. Because Hollywood does interesting. I mean, there's good stuff going on. And Hollywood also says, the way to make movies is our way, and that's the right way. And in all honesty, it really is. The way they make movies with giant budgets and huge stars and, 500 grips and this, that, and the other thing, that is the right way to make a movie, because you've got resource and you've got studio backing and these things. So that's the right way to do a movie. So I don't know. I mean, I see decent stuff, and, indie horror, I mean, they've democratized it to a point now where anybody can kind of do it. Anybody can get a flip cam, and anybody can get an iPhone and make a zombie movie or, whatever they want. And that's cool, but, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of shit. I really just don't watch a lot of movies. I watched Human Centipede 2 recently, which was very, very good. And The Last Circus, if you get a chance to see that movie, that was good too. I don't, in movies, I mean, I had this discussion a while ago. Derek and I actually had this discussion, I think the other day, where we were just kind of saying that Hollywood movies kind of feel like disconnected a little bit, but our society kind of feels a little disconnected. Like we communicate through everything's a text message or email or something like that. Like we don't have these like conversations back and forth or anything. And the movies kind of feel that way because you don't have like an emotional connection to the movies, and they write them that way or they produce them that way. So it's kind of like going and getting a box of Chicken McNuggets or something. You eat it and you forget you ate it, and it's the same thing. It's like society, like consumerism, and I don't know. Cryptos is making faces at me, so now I feel like an idiot. But yeah, they just kind of feel detached, like So I don't know. Not like Incest Death Squad's gonna really touch anybody. Well, maybe in an appropriate way, but tier.
Do you feel that when you're making movies and the kinds of movies that you make, that you're sort of taking back some of that connection you feel is lost in the Hollywood films?
Maybe, and for me too. I've been offered like distribution deals and stuff. Like I got offered. I'm not telling tales I was good. Like Troma and Tempe actually too. There's been a few distribution deals, but they're terrible. I mean, they're not good deals, and they kind of take the movie and bury it in an online catalog or something. And so once they do that, like you can't connect with anybody. Like you can't come out to Crypticon and you can't meet people and see what people are interested in. Or I couldn't give the movies to you to review and see and talk to you and do this, because I'm signing it to a distribution company and I'm done with it. I sign it over and do that. So I think with Swamphead, with these guys have been doing the festival. They had a screening tonight, and they're out here. They got the head here, in the movies, on VHS, Hi-Fi. So these guys are out here pressing the flesh and, meeting people and bringing the movie to people. So there's probably a little bit more of a connection, because essentially I think at this level, I think it's probably like they're almost buying more you than they are almost buying the movie. They're like trusting you that, this guy's a horror fan, because number one, I think we're all fans of this shit, and that's why we make the movies that we make, because we don't see them. You know, so we're seeing a lot of, you know, like you said, we're seeing a lot of remakes. We're seeing a lot of, like, you know, zombie comedy movies are huge. I mean, that's like flooding the market like crazy. Everybody's got one of those. Actually, somebody suggested that to me. They go, everybody should be zombies in the next one. I go, oh, shit. I'm not doing that. I don't have a budget for zombies.
Sparkling vampires?
Could do that.
Yeah.
Huskies. You turn into huskies. But yeah, so, you know, to come out to the horror convention stuff, it's probably a little bit more of a connection, because at least you can meet people and, you know, become friends with people. And, you know, when somebody plunks down like $10 to watch Incest Death Squad, I'm genuinely touched by it, because I'm like, really? This is what you want to spend your $10 on? Bless your heart, you handsome son of a bitch, because I can't believe anybody'd want to do that. So it's you know, to have that connection and to actually meet people and remember names and see faces. Like, there's a dude that actually for the last 3 years, his name's Derek, not you, but his name's Derek, and he's come up every single year and bought the movies. And he found me this year, and he goes, oh, you got a new one? And I go, yes, I got a new one. And he goes, I gotta have that. So, I mean, even just that one dude, it's like, it's cool. You know what I mean? That guy gives a shit. He works at Festival Foods, and he gives the Incest Death Squad movies to everybody at Festival Foods. And he works in the deli department. And I said, don't anybody at the Festival Foods in Bloomington, Minnesota, ever go to the deli department at Festival Foods, because these people have been watching incest movies and probably playing with themselves. So avoid the chicken and the meat at Festival, potato salad at Festival Foods. There's probably pubes in it. I didn't say that.
I wish that could be the parting line, because that's the perfect note to
Isn't
end
that
on.
great? Don't go to Festival Foods. There's pubes.
But do you have any advice to anybody who might want to pick up a camera and make movies the way that you've done it?
Don't. No, not don't. Just, I mean, if you want to shoot a movie, number one, make sure you have a good script. That's first and foremost. Make sure you have a decent script that... What? You gotta have a script! He thinks I don't write fucking scripts for these movies. I do! I have scripts with words, and I spell check them. But it doesn't even matter, like, what you shoot it on. I mean, if you shoot it on, like, a flip cam or a iPhone or something, you know, like I said, they've democratized it to the point where anybody can go and buy, like, a fairly decent camera and go make a movie. So if you really want to make a movie, if it's what you really want to do, then you should do it. If you're doing it because you think it's an easy way to make money, if you're at the conventions and you're going, oh, look, it's George Romero, and he's got a line out the door, that's for me, well, go to Hollywood and start wearing a lot of chapstick and start sucking, because that's the only way you're going to make money and get anywhere. But if you really want to do this because it's what you want to do, then just do it. You know, don't let anybody tell you can't. And you could do it. And you can make a movie as great as Incest Death Squad. 1 or 2. Or 3. Which is...
Or Mediatrix.
Or Mediatrix. You can do it. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if anybody wants to make a movie, if you really want to, do it for the right reasons. You know, don't do it because you get to stay in palatial estates like this at Crypticon Minneapolis. You know, wonderful giant rooms like this with 8 dressers. I don't know what I'm going to do with those. I have 8 dressers. I have 1, 2, 3. There's like a coffee bar over there. Body parts and dead hookers. Lloyd's not here, so I'm going to have less body parts. But do it for the right reasons. Do it because you want to. Do it because it's really what you need to do. But yeah, so I don't know. I never had delusions that, like, this would make money. You know, I knew better. The only thing I ever wanted to do was just pay for the DVD printing, which I still haven't done this time. I'm still working on that, but you know, if you want to make a movie, make one, but do it for the right reasons and just have fun doing it. You know.
Excellent.
That's it.
Thank you so much for sitting down.
And I
with
have
us.
to say thank you to you and Chateau Gur and Kicking the Seat, because I like doing these movies and stuff. When you send the movies out to reviewers or you send them to bloggers or things, you never know what you're going to get back. Like, I've had a lot of reviews where there's a lot of misspellings and sentences that don't make sense. And purple monkey dishwasher in an Incest Death Squad review, that's what you give me? But your reviews are fantastic. So if nobody's reading Ian's reviews on Kicking the Seat and things, and Chateau Gur, who does a great job, make sure that you definitely check those out, because I've never had anybody, like, watch the movie. Like, actually watch it and understand the movie. You know, you don't get that. You know, I've had, like, Fangoria was the worst. But he didn't even watch the movie. Like, a lot of guys don't watch the movie. They're just like, there wasn't enough gore. And that's, like, all I get. And I'm like, I can't take anything away from this. But you actually watch the movies. And as a filmmaker who doesn't have a lot of money for marketing and doesn't take distribution and is small-time filmmaker, I appreciate it. So I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
This guy. Beautiful.
Well, with
Handsome.
With that, I'd like to wish everyone a good evening or a good morning or a good lunch whenever you're watching this. Probably not at lunch. Definitely not at work.
Not safe for work.
But thank you again from Chateau Gur and Kicking the Seat. And be sure to check out incestdeathsquad.com for all of your Incest Death Squad and Mediatrix needs and to find out what Cory's up to. So thank you, and take care.